Vandy boys are champs, man. Vanderbilt powers its way past Ole Miss to clinch the SEC title, man. Let's get excited. Here we go. Postseason baseball in full swing.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Everybody, welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making us part of your day. Thanks for making us your first listen. Today, we're going to focus on how the Vandy boys powered past Ole Miss to clinch the SEC title. 2 bombs and elite pitching was the formula for success in a tight final. This completes the first milestone in Vanderbilt's journey to Omaha. It shows the championship makeup of this team, and it shows what this team is made of and how this team was able to make that midseason turnaround when everybody kind of thought they were dead. We're going to break it all down. Also, as we await the brackets, we do at least know who the 16 host teams are. The SEC had half the field with 8. That's impressive, man. The SEC continues to impress, and Vanderbilt could be the number 1 seed overall. Definitely probably going to be the top dog amongst the SEC teams. So we'll look at how that bracket comes out. That'll be on the next episode because the brackets will come out before recording the next episode. So we'll talk about the host teams at least. So like I said, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. Shout out to the everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Speaking of 50%, the SEC has 50% of the host sites for the SEC in the NCAA regional. So we'll get to that later about how impressive that is. But first, this final, and this 3-game tournament run that Vanderbilt's been on shows you everything you need to know about how this team is made up. And it is something that is quite impressive, actually, with how they were able to finish, how they were able to win in different ways, how they were able to get things done. They won all 3 games in different manners, and it was impressive. The common theme, of course, was elite pitching. You start off the tournament run with J.D. Thompson. Dominant performance against Oklahoma. The offense blows up, has a really good night without any homers. It's all extra base hits and singles and getting guys around. Then you have a dominant performance against Tennessee, 10-0, all singles, pure small ball domination. And then, of course, this one in a tight, low-scoring game. They just needed two bombs to get them over the hump. The pitching took care of the rest. So what are my takeaways from this particular game, though? Because, a lot of what I took away from this game, I think will come back into fruition and help and be qualities that help this team through the regional bracket, through the super regional bracket, and into Omaha. I think these things that they're doing right now will help tremendously as the tournament goes on, because, like I said, versatility is the biggest key. But here's what I noticed against Ole Miss. There's Brodie Johnston pictured. He hit a 2-run bomb to set the tone. But Austin Nye was brilliant, man. 4 2/3, gave up 2 hits, 4 Ks. Bullpen finished the job for him. Unfortunately, one of the runs was credited to him. He walked a batter with 2 outs left in the 5th inning, and didn't get a chance to finish that inning. The very next pitch, that guy was driven in. That run was credited to Austin Nye. But nonetheless, that was a far cry from what Austin Nye went through. I don't think he finished the first inning the last time he took the mound against an SEC opponent. So very, very good with him. He was jacked up. He was hit. I think he hit 97 on the gun at one point. He was pretty much jacked up, but a much better outing for him. He was dialed in. He was hitting his spots. He was in control of this game. But like I said, only 2 hits, struck out 4. So he was letting the defense go to work. He was giving them hittable pitches. They were hittable in the fact that they were just going to put him in play. They weren't able to barrel any of those balls or many of those balls, only giving up 2 hits. The defense did do a lot of work behind him. So hats off to Austin Nye. This has got to be a very big confidence booster for him. And going into regionals, you're going to need that, right? Maybe not in super regionals, but at some point in the regionals, you're going to need Austin Nye to have another quality start somewhere down the line in Omaha. If you get there, you're going to need him at some point in Omaha because you're going to be stretched thin. Also, Fennell is going to be somebody that you're going to have to lean on. He's going to have to get another start at some point. So I think getting him some quality innings is going to be good as well. So that was my biggest takeaway there, is that you get this freshman phenom, Austin Nye. And as the broadcast call him, Austin Nye, the strikeout guy. I called him earlier this season, Austin Nye, the science guy. So he's probably going to have a collection of nicknames. I'm pretty sure he's heard that one a million times. So Austin, I do apologize. I know you probably heard that one. You're probably rolling your eyes right now if you hear this. But what you're not rolling your eyes about is a brilliant pitching performance, 4 2/3. Maybe in your next start, we'll get you 5-6 innings. We'll get you a quality start there. It's a step in the right direction for sure. Very impressive there. Ole Miss has a pretty good offense and a team that made it to the finals based on their ability to get guys on base and to score runs when runs are at a premium. And Ole Miss got shut down. Austin Nye shut that down early on, set the tone pitching wise. The bullpen followed suit. Even though Sawyer Hawks made it extremely interesting, he came in and slammed the door shut. So that was that's kind of what I enjoyed from that game. Brodie Johnston, he in the first inning, he got things going, man. He had a 2-run bomb. Jacob Humphrey added to it in the 5th. Austin Nye gave up that run, or he was credited for that run. So it cut the lead in half to 2-1. Jacob Humphrey said, "Nah, we're going to put one more on the board." Bam! That ended up being all they needed. But Brodie Johnston won some accolades. Maybe we'll see who won some accolades as the all tournament team came out. But again, just a display of power. And even though it wasn't like power all game long, to me what I took away from Brodie Johnston hitting that 2-run shot in the first inning, I think it put Ole Miss back on their heels. I think psychologically it kind of messed them up because they had been pitching so well up until that point. They had been shutting people down. They moved past Florida. They moved past Arkansas. They shut down LSU. Not a lot of runs were being scored. And, I think had those 2 runs been scored in a different manner, maybe this game would have been more back and forth. Maybe this game, Ole Miss would have had some control in this game. But I don't think that was the case. I think with Brodie Johnston hitting that 2-run bomb, that did something to Ole Miss, and it just felt like they were scrambling from then on out at the plate. And I felt like pitching-wise, they stabilized a bit. They ended up only giving up 1 more run. So, 3 runs in college baseball should give you a chance to win. But offensively, I just don't think they were in a rhythm. I think they were pressing a little too much. The combination of it being an SEC title atmosphere and the fact that Vandy was pitching extremely well, and also the fact that Brodie Johnston put them immediately on their heels, I think all of that was enough to kind of sink Ole Miss a little bit and get them out of rhythm enough to where they were never in control at the plate. And in a low-scoring game, it was that I felt like because of that, Vandy was well in control. I felt like watching this game, there was no point where, except for the 9th inning, I was like, this is going to be a little interesting, but I still think they were well in control. And you could tell this team didn't panic, right? You get into the 5th inning and they cut the lead in half. This team doesn't panic. Jacob Humphrey in the next at bat goes up and puts another one on the board and pushes that lead back out to 2. And it just felt like when he did that, he might as well have hit a 10-run home run, because it just felt like that gap was just so wide, because Ole Miss's hitters were they were so off balance that it didn't matter. Vandy's bullpen came through. They have a lot of quality arms in the bullpen, and all those guys came through and really kind of shut it down, especially Luke Guth. I mean, I thought he was outstanding. He would come down and shut down everything there. And just this team just showed, again, Levi Huseman, of course, as well. And, Sawyer Hawks had another two inning save. So you had 6 innings between Luke Guth, Levi Huseman, and Sawyer Hawks, and 4 2/3 from Austin Nye, and basically 1 pitch from Miller Green. So this bullpen is absolutely incredible. That will, having a really good bullpen is going to be clutch coming down the stretch in the series. So who won some accolades? There's some accolades to be had. Who won them? Who got them? We'll talk about that and more next. I love accolades. You love accolades. And what are some accolades? Wealth. Wealth is a great accolade. And speaking of wealth, have you ever just looked at your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? I mean, between takeout, online shopping, entertainment, going to the movies, whatever, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, and it gives you full visibility and control over your finances, man. It's not just a budgeting app. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. Just think about, when I think about command center, I'm thinking like 5 screens with like everything you own up there. I probably wouldn't require 5 screens to look at all my finances, but if you're one of those type of people, Monarch Money is just for you. Now, you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. They have an app too. It's simpler than that. But when I started using Monarch Money, I just realized how much I was spending on takeout, and now I budget smarter and save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, going from Bank of America to Robinhood to whatever other investment apps you use, right? I just go to Monarch, and it's all right there at my fingertips, and I can track it all there, and I can even plan long-term from one place. You simplify, right? So managing money with your partner is smoother than ever as well. You can talk to your partner and track shared and personal accounts. You can set goals. You can stay on the same page without all the stress. So way less fights. It's easy breezy. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. I appreciate you guys, everydayers especially. Even if you're a first-timer, I appreciate you. If you're a fan of another team, I appreciate you. If you are just somebody cruising on by, you see this pop up on YouTube and you click on it and go, what the heck is this dude talking about? I appreciate you too, and I hope you stay. If you need a second listen, when you're done with me, you can head on to Locked On SEC with Chris Gordy. Locked On Ole Miss with Stephen Willis. I'm sure you can hear a little bit about his side, his perspective of this SEC title game, but he does a great job. He's probably worth the listen anyway, regardless of what he's talking about. He does a phenomenal job there. So speaking of phenomenal jobs, after a really good title run where you have just a dominant performance where you're, no home runs, but just a really good hitting display with elite pitching, then you small ball death by 1,000 paper cuts and elite pitching against Tennessee, and then you have elite pitching with the help of a couple of power shots. You kind of put together a thing of versatility, but there's some accolades to be going around. Do you like accolades? I like accolades. We all love accolades. So here's how those went. All right, Brodie Johnston, SEC tournament MVP. A lot of that was due to the fact that he lifted that 2-run bomb in the first inning and really kind of just put Ole Miss on their heels. He took control of the tournament there. So he was voted as SEC tournament MVP. I think had he not done that, I don't know who would have won the SEC tournament MVP, maybe RJ Austin. But he he went out there and earned himself those honors. RJ Austin and Riley Nelson made the all-tournament team as well. And so that's a few of the accolades. And I'm pretty sure some of these pitchers should have been on there as well. I'm not sure. I'm gonna double check that while we're watching here. But I would, it's crazy how it's it's crazy how there's no pitchers on here. I'm pretty surprised by that. And but these guys earned it. These guys were great, man. RJ Austin was very consistent. He took over. His at-bats were amazing. He was getting guys around. He was hitting the ball all over the yard. He was very pivotal in that Tennessee game. He was very pivotal in that Oklahoma game as well. He was part. I think the reason why he wasn't the MVP is just because he was just part of the engine. Vandy. That's how Vandy goes. Like Vandy is this big engine that runs so well that you don't recognize the individual parts that run it, right? Occasionally one part will stand out above another briefly, but it's truly a team. And you don't see that, well, you do see that a good bit, but to have a team as accomplished as Vanderbilt is this year, for them to not have any all conference selections or all tournament selections, or very few, shows you just how much there's not one superstar, two superstars that are really kind of carrying this bunch. It is the entire team. Everybody from the freaking sixth inning bullpen guy, Austin Nye, the midweek starter turned tournament starter. You got Brodie Johnston, the super freshman, and then just everybody else just keying in on this. It's great and it's odd all at the same time, right? It's hard to wrap your mind around because you're thinking, and it's not a bad thing, but you're sitting here thinking, okay, this team just dominated and we don't the all conference team is all LSU got, or I haven't seen the all tournament team, but theoretically it's everyone except Vandy players for the most part. And so it's just odd. That's all. Not a bad thing. It just tells you how much of a team this team really is and how evenly distributed the contributions are. Everyone has chipped in. Everyone has done something. No one has stood out above the rest. It's been a truly full team elevation. And I guess that's why they're SEC champs. I guess that's why they're staring at a number one overall seed. And I guess that's why we were Omaha dreaming, right? We're Omaha dreaming. I love it. So how did that happen, though? Why does that happen, right? Here's the things, right? Here's three things that really stood out to me as they run through the SEC tournament. They, ever since Oklahoma took 2 out of 3, they had that players-only meeting. But, I think they found a way to be versatile, right? It's a championship trait. You have to find different ways to win, and Vandy showed that. They won 3 different ways. In this tournament, they've won different ways throughout the season where they've absolutely ran teams out of the building, just mashing. They've small balled to death. They've won pitchers duels. They've won standard. They've won error fests. They've won all different kind of games. When their pitching sucks, their hitting picks them up. When their hitting sucks, the pitching has picked them up. When you're in a pitcher's duel where it's not necessarily the hitting sucks, it's just there's elite pitching. They've been able to be in control of those type games, like this Ole Miss game, or if it's just a game where the conditions aren't conducive for power and they just need to keep the ball on the ground and play it around the field. They've been able to do that, and they've been able to pick up starters who don't have good outings for the most part, and starters have been able to pick up the bullpen by having quality outings where they go 7, 8 innings, and everything kind of in between. I think they've literally won multiple times in just about every scenario you can win. And that's great because most teams you have an identity. Most teams are like Georgia, they win by crushing the ball. And when we're not crushing the ball, they're probably not winning. You have a team like LSU who just kind of steamrolls you and they just kind of hit their way through it. Or You have a team like Ole Miss who got themselves in the tournament final because they pitch and play defense. And, it's just teams that have these identities that if, they kind of lose control of themselves, Vandy's able to find different ways. And that's been key. But the foundation to all that is the pitching. The pitching all around is elite. Starters in the bullpen took over this tournament, much as they've done all season. And I know in the regular season, it's great to see all those power numbers, and they've had pretty good power numbers. Not towards the top as you would guess, but with their elite pitching, they haven't needed it. They haven't needed to be elite in hitting. They've been good, but they haven't been elite in hitting. And it's pitching and bullpen said it doesn't matter, and the most valuable thing to have in college baseball is a strong bullpen. So, and then trust led to confidence, and confidence led to dominance, right? You have a really confident team that knows itself, that wants to be itself, that just out there having fun. It just leads to dominance, man. When you're confident out there on the mound, you're shutting them down. When you're confident up there at the plate, it becomes a lot easier to hit. When you're confident in the field, you're just doing your thing, man. And it's been truly fun to watch over the second half of this season and watch this team go from trying to figure itself out to figuring itself out and then letting that play out. And then just seeing that trust and confidence grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, right? And there had to be a lot of trust in that players only meeting. So because they could have easily taken all that personal, and it could have just been, it could have just fallen off the rails. Like, those players only meetings can go one of two ways. If there's a lot of trust there, they usually go positively. If there's not a lot of trust, you can easily find that out. People take things personally, and the team just falls apart. So this has got to have you feeling good coming into the regionals. And again, trust led to confidence. Confidence leads to dominance. And Vandy dominated in this tournament. They were in control the whole way. No games, even this Ole Miss game, they were in control the whole way, and they pretty much put a dominant performance together. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that translates into the regionals, who gets into their regional. Of course, Vandy's hosting. We'll see who else is hosting. We'll talk about that next. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Thank you. If you're a loyal third segment listener, if you're still around, thank you. High five. Right. So we've been talking about Vandy's dominant performance in the SEC tournament. This is kind of, I'm in rarefied air here. I'm in baseball mode, complete baseball mode. And when I started this podcast, this is where I thought I'd be. I thought I'd be sitting here in late May, going to town, talking baseball, and it's been great. Thank you guys for proving my theory right and being interested in baseball again. I'm glad to be at the forefront of that, and I hope I'm doing you guys justice. So leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this team, of this tournament, of the upcoming regionals. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know what they are. So regionals. 8 SEC teams are hosting regionals. 8 SEC teams are in the top 16 seeds. We hope to see who gets a national seed. I think, obviously, Vandy winning the SEC tournament will be one of the 8 host teams. I would be completely shocked if they weren't. But it's going to be interesting to kind of see who the bottom half of the national 8 seeds are. The national seeds obviously host the super regionals, and the others just kind of fall in as regional hosts, but they will jump into the other super regionals. So here's how it goes. And I think this might be an order. I think this is an order of records. Okay. So if we're going based on this, we can guess who the top 8 will be. Maybe. No, because Auburn is 38-18 and they're listed. So I think it's alphabetical, actually. So, yeah, it's alphabetical. Okay. All right. So here's the host teams. Here's the host regionals. You have Georgia hosting. They're 42-15. They're hosting in Athens. Auburn's hosting one at 38-18. Texas is hosting theirs in Austin, 42-12. LSU hosting North Carolina at 42-2, Clemson at 44-16, Coastal Carolina at 48-11. Oregon State is hosting out there in Corvallis, 41-12, 42-14 for Oregon. So the state of Oregon is going to be rocking when it comes to baseball. Arkansas hosting, Southern Miss hosting, Tennessee hosting, UCLA hosting, obviously. Nashville right down there, 42-16 hosting. Ole Miss sneaking right in with a great tournament run as a host team. And, of course, Florida State back to where they should be, hosting a regional tournament. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think Georgia's going to be right on the outside looking in. Because I think Vanderbilt winning the SEC does play a factor into that national seeding. If you go based on record alone, Georgia and Vandy are right there with 42 wins, but Georgia lost one less game. But if you kind of go on some other things, I think Vandy's going to get that national seed. But those are your hosts. And what I've noticed is people saying that the SEC is easy. I don't know that the SEC is easy in any sport, honestly. This is insane, right? I mean, you get 14 teams into the NCAA tournament in basketball. The SEC was not able to win a playoff game in the college football playoff. They weren't able to get the first of the new age of national championships, but the SEC has had a dominant run in football for a long time and will continue to do so. But, baseball is just the latest where you've got 8 hosts and probably it'll probably end up being half of the super regional field as well. So, you cut that down to 4 hosting super regional. So, yeah, it's conventional wisdom to say that your national champion could come out of the SEC. That's not a bad guess. They've won, I think, 10 of the last 15 national titles or College World Series titles. And it's going to be crazy. And I think Vanderbilt's right up there in the mix. I mean, you've got, I think of these teams right here, I think Clemson is dangerous outside of the league. I think UCLA could be dangerous. I don't know a ton about them, but I think they could be dangerous out there, out west. And of course, Florida State, although they had kind of a rockier season, they're always in tournament time. They're always kind of a dangerous team. But, of the SEC teams, I mean, there's no reason. I think Texas and LSU could make some noise. But, Vanderbilt beat Tennessee. They beat Georgia. They swept Georgia in the season series. They didn't play Arkansas. They lost to Ole Miss in the season series, but got them in the SEC final. But Vandy's hot at the right time. And honestly, I look at this list and I have a hard time believing Vandy is not up there in that final list. I have a hard time believing that. And so this will be kind of fun how these regionals are matched up. And I think it's going to be determined on national seed. Obviously, if Vandy's a top 2 national seed, I think you're going to get a favorable matchup, coming out of a different regional. I think you'll probably get a Southern Miss regional or a Coastal Carolina regional, to be able to host the winner of that regional in the super regional round. And then, of course, you move on to the College World Series. Now, these are just the regional hosts, and you have to assume that if things go chalk with the regionals, that all these teams will be, or I should say, half of these teams really will be in a super regional. So this is going to be, kind of crazy, right? And like I said, I'm very curious to kind of see who gets what, and if one of these teams gets upset in their regional and their national seed, where does that put the hosting at that point? I'm kind of curious about that. But this is going to be a fun run. Meaningful baseball is great. Now, last year's team, I think they kept the streak alive, but that's about all they did. This year's team, I think, has a legit shot at winning it. I really do. And I don't know who the 2, 3, 4 seeds are going to be in each regional. We'll find that out on Memorial Day tomorrow or today as you're listening to this, really. We're going to find all that information out and who is where and what's where and who has the best road, who gets the best draw, all that good stuff. You're going to kind of find that out. But I just have a hard time believing Vanderbilt is not going to be in that mix. I don't know. The way they're playing, all the reasons I laid out, all of these reasons, I think, especially number one, gives Vanderbilt that perfect opportunity. So we're going to break down the NCAA tournament bracket as it comes out. That's going to be a huge part of tomorrow's show or the next episode, I should say. And we're going to take all of that. We're going to break all that down. I'm going to continue to tell you why I think they have a chance and what's going to be added to their path or the obstructions that are in their way on their road to Omaha. So that being said, thank you for listening. Hope you guys come back, and we'll see you back here next time on the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Like, subscribe if you like what you hear. Follow us on social media at Coach Burton 36 is my personal, at Locked On Vandy on all social media platforms is the show. Thank you. Anchor down. Peace.